Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Mark from Sound Matters. I've recently stumbled across something really interesting in my local antiques emporium. It's a vintage Thorens TD150 Mark II turntable. It's in pretty bad shape at the moment, but it dates back from around about, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments here, but between 1969 and the early 1970s. I'm hoping I can restore this little piece of music history back to working order and its former glory. This will be a multi-part series. You can join me on that journey and see if I've opened up a massive can of worms and bitten off more than I can chew. But without further ado, let's take a look first of all at part one in this series, which is the sold as seen state of this turntable as it currently stands. Okay, so here's the beauty in question. You can see it's pretty dusty and dirty. Needs a damn good clean from many years of sat in somebody's attic, no doubt. It's also got quite a lot of scuffing on here, which you might be able to see on camera, which I'm hoping I can somehow get rid of those marks because they're quite aesthetically unpleasing to the eye. There's some minor marks on the wooden frame, but actually generally I think for its age it's not too bad. There might be something I can do about that, but more importantly, function wise, how is it looking? Well, we're missing the headshell for a starter, but you can get these I think pretty easily on eBay. I've done a quick search already and there's a couple available, so I'll probably get one of those as a starting point. This is, as I say, the Mark II system, so it does have the anti-skating. The Mark I, or the first TD150, did not have anti-skating, I believe, but we're missing the counterweight here that should go across there. We are missing that pretty crucial component. Hopefully we can find that somewhere online. This is all looking okay though. We've got the counterweight, the back counterweight, and then the down tracking force adjustment here. Yeah, I've actually got it plugged in. So the moment of truth though, so I haven't tried this yet already. Does it actually work? Let's give it a go. And there you go. We're at 33 RPM here. So it does go to 45. It's sort of slightly worn out on the chassis here, but we'll just move it to 45 and see what happens. Oh. Oh. Something's going on there, something's catching, so I'm going to stop that right now because it suggests that something is going on underneath there. It'd be interesting actually, whilst we've got this going, just to take the platter off and see what sort of state the bearing, but also the drive belt and the system in general, the motor, is looking. So we're going to remove this platter mat first. It's a rubber platter mat, so I'll probably find a way to replace if I can. There's a 45 adapter. One of the neat things actually, just pop that back, is obviously this doubles up as a 45 adapter. Just turn it the other way around and hey presto, there you go. You're adjusted for 45s. Pretty neat in the design there actually in terms of how they do that. But yeah, let's take this all off and let's see what we're dealing with. Gently lift the platter off. This is a suspension turntable, so I'm curious, and as I say, I haven't actually looked any further into this at all. This is literally the first time I'm seeing this, so bear with me as I go. See, this is the sub platter here, which is attached to the drive belt. The drive belt feels possibly like it could... I probably will just replace the drive belt anyway. This obviously goes across here and attaches on there. Let's just see what's going on with the motor now when we try it. That's down to 33. You'll see that mechanism drops it down to that lower part of the pulley. Try it on 45 again, see if it still trips like we had before. Yeah, so it's catching here. You can see it's touching and it's not actually managing to get it quite up to where it should be. So something's not quite right there. I watched a video online. There's a really good tutorial of somebody who's done this before by a company called GB Audio, I believe, or GB Hi-Fi. Anyway, I'll link their videos down in the description. There's a way of, with these screws here, adjusting the bias of this sub-platter, and that may well stop it from tripping on the speed adjustment here. That's what it should do. It's now just cleared it. So that sounds okay. Let's put the platter back on. So it may well just not have been positioned as it should be. Let's see what happens when we do it with the full weight of the platter in force. Oh, there's a real musty smell going on. It needs a damn good clean. Okay, fine at 33 still. And it's not making that horrific noise. We've already managed to get it to work at 45. That's a good sign. So I don't think there's too much adjustment to make, but I will level out this subplatter and make sure the azimuth of it is adjusted accordingly. Oh, the smell of it. You know when you get a case of old records? It smells like that, but turbocharged. In a moment, I'm going to try and get a wet wipe to this and get some of the worst of the grub off and see if I can take out some of those scuff marks that you've seen on the surface there. But now is actually just a good moment to mention the dust cover, which is not hinged, as many of you might know if you are aware of this model, but simply just places over on top of the turntable like that. It's quite scuffed up and it does have some damage. Yeah, so that corner's cracked. And there's a few other little marks where it's got some cracks in there. It's quite scuffed up and just doesn't look particularly aesthetically pleasing. I don't think it's really worth trying to restore that, personally. I'm just going to buy a new model. I've seen on eBay there's a guy selling ones that literally just cover the arm and then they sit on top of the platter here. They don't cover the entire turntable, but it's a bit more aesthetically pleasing and I think works a little bit better, a bit more compact when you're dealing with something that has to be fully removed from the turntable and is just placed back on when you're not using the deck. So I'll probably do that and there'll be some B-roll on the screen so you can see the kind of replacement model that I'm looking at. I'm just going to remove the subplatter here and we'll see what we're looking at underneath. And it's quite nice and snug. That's a really nice snug bearing in there actually. That's really, really good. I actually think this could probably use some oil. It doesn't looks quite dry, but the good news is it doesn't look dirty either. So that's, I think, a good sign, but we'll probably get some bearing oil in there just to make sure everything's moving as smoothly as possible. But what you want with a bearing and a subplatter is for it to have a really snug fit, because if it's loose, then that is no good. But that is a sign of a pretty good subplatter and bearing setup. But good news in that it does seem to move quite nice and freely, but we'll probably just give it some oil anyway, right? So just makes sense that we should do that. There's a little bit of play in the bearing there on the actual tone arm. Moves freely enough, but I don't know if that can be improved at all, because really we don't want play in a bearing because that's a point of resonance. So it's going to be interesting to see if I can improve that. I have even seen some models where people have put SME tone arms on them, so there's the possibility of just replacing the tone arm altogether, but that would be a bigger, more advanced project. So my hope that just a basic rub with some wet wipes, baby wipes, to try and get rid of these black marks is not proving to be successful. I think it's going to need something stronger, but what I don't want to do is ruin the surface or put anything too harsh or nasty on here, because I don't want to ruin the surface. But it would be such a shame. Some of it is coming out, some of it, the worst of it, is coming off, but it would be such a shame if I can't get this surface clean and it just has these permanent dark marks on there. I don't think I'll be as keen on it aesthetically if I can't actually remove all of that. You see how stubborn that really is. Some proper horrible scuff marks on there. If you have any advice for how I might be able to remove this safely, do let me know down in the comments. One thing I will say is that horrible musty smell that was almost making me choke has now dissipated quite significantly. I'm guessing there'll be quite a lot of dust to remove inside the guts of this thing as well when I finally get in there. Okay, so I think that's as clean as I'm going to get it for now until I figure out how to get rid of these. I'm tempted now though, just whilst we're at it, is to open up the bottom of it and see what the guts are looking like, see what kind of state those are in. To do that, we've got to remove these little screws where the feet are. These are the suspension springs here. Looks like they're not too bad, I would say. But let me know if you recommend down in the comments whether I should just replace these anyway. I'll need to adjust them from what I've learned so far to make sure that this is all sort of leveled out before it's put into use. These are the tone arm wires here, as far as I can see, and somebody has actually tied them back here. In a previous, hang on, that's not quite on camera, is it, down there? Yeah, somebody has tied those back there to prevent it from interfering with the suspension spring here, as far as I understand. There was a on the video that I watched, these were just loose, and so that can cause a bit of a problem. Interesting stuff, but it generally looks to me like it's in not too bad shape, but we'll see how we go when we start putting everything together. Of course, I should mention that I have removed the power plug before opening this, if anyone's wondering. A little interesting find in here. I can see that this actually was made on the 11th of May 1970, and you'll have noticed on the top it was made in what was then West Germany. So all in all, this should be a really fun and fascinating project. I'm crossing my fingers it shouldn't take too much to get this beauty into working order. A new head shell, a new drive belt should fix that speed change issue, I'm hoping, and a new anti-skate weight, and getting that all adjusted and making sure that suspension system is operated and balanced as it should be. And hopefully then we should not need to do too much more to this, but do let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments of this video. As I say, I'm completely new to this entire process. I'm probably going to put a Shaw cartridge on this. I think an M97XE. I've got quite a few of those left over from my time when I worked at the company when I worked for Shaw, and I think that would suit this turntable rather well if I'm successful in this project. I might have bitten off more than I can chew. I really don't know yet, but I'm going to enjoy the journey. Just one last thing to mention before we end today's video is I did have a little play with the tonearm lever system, and that seems to have a really nice slow damping. It doesn't seem to have any issues there. It seems to raise perfectly fine, and it seems to lower nice and slowly. So fingers crossed that's in working order as well. So I'm hoping, as I say, just a few simple replacements and some tweaks here and there, and a bit of cosmetic dressing up, and we should be there. Famous last words, of course. So any advice you have for me, let me know down in the comments below. I would definitely welcome it. If you enjoy this channel, please do check out the description of the video. Check out those bonus discount codes. You get money off final gear. I get a very small commission. There's no extra cost to you, so it's a win-win situation. Helps keep this channel going. It really, really does. There's also my Patreon page for bonus content and a community over there. If you're new to this channel, please do consider subscribing. I'd love to have you on board. Until the next video, guys, enjoy the music, keep spinning. Cheers.